Welcome to Genesis Unleashed, where we unleash the truth of Genesis.
And ask the question, does evolution really have any scientific value? Welcome to Genesis Unleashed. We are on question 13 of the 15 Questions for Evolution flyer. We're getting there. 2 more questions to go. So what's question 13? Where are the scientific breakthroughs due to evolution? Dr. Mark Kirschner, chair of the Department of Systems Biology at Harvard Medical School, stated, in fact, over the last 100 years, almost all of biology has proceeded independent of evolution, except for evolutionary biology itself. Molecular biology, biochemistry, physiology have not taken into account evolution at all. Dr. Skell wrote, "It is our knowledge of how these organisms actually operate, not speculations about how they may have arisen millions of years ago, that is essential to doctors, veterinarians, farmers. Evolution actually hinders medical discovery. Then why do schools and universities teach evolution so dogmatically, stealing time from experimental biology that so benefits humankind?" And there's a link there to an article called "Is Evolution Relevant or Helpful to Real Science?" Obviously we're making a distinction already.
Right.
And you can look up that article at creation.com/helpful.
Right.
Creation.com/helpful. And that link actually goes to several articles on this topic for more details.
Yeah, we really have to ask that question. All this time, effort, mental effort, what students are spending their time on, is this actually doing any real world good? Is there any real purpose to this other than to just help people with an atheistic worldview have a so-called way to explain how they got here without God? Because that's what evolution actually provides. So we did get some answers. Answer number 1 was evolution is an extraordinary breakthrough in its own right.
Okay.
So the question is, where are the scientific breakthroughs? And they said, well, evolution itself.
Evolution itself. But other things that are extraordinary scientific breakthroughs in their own right lead to other advancements in science, lead to other breakthroughs.
Right. So if you discover, germ theory or something like that, then all of a sudden you can take that information and you start making medicines or whatever that can...
And you have other breakthroughs.
Right.
What are the other breakthroughs that come through this person calls this a breakthrough. If we call that a breakthrough, the discovery of evolution by Darwin or whatever.
Yeah. And even that in itself, I mean, there were some Greeks that believed in evolution. There's different people groups that have believed in form of self-creation long before Darwin. So, anyway, answer number 2 was evolutionary concepts are being applied to electronics to create more efficient circuits.
Well, no. Actually, the concept of iterative algorithms long predate Darwin. They've been around for a long time, and of recently they've been hijacked by evolutionary terminology and applied with evolutionary labels. But if humans were more mathematically adept, we wouldn't need to have this trial and error method in electronics trying to get better circuits. So it actually not necessary in electronics if we'd be better at math.
And you can go to creation.com/algorithm to get a whole article on that. The third answer we received was Norman Borlaug's understanding of evolution and genetics helped him to mass produce crops to feed millions of people, winning him the 1970 Nobel Peace Prize. So they're saying evolution, the theory of evolution, the concept that people went from particles to people over millions and billions of years, that helped this man to produce these crops to feed millions of people.
Crops. Yeah, okay. Actually, Darwinian evolution had nothing to do with that. That's the rebuttal.
Right. But, I mean, this is another example where understanding the difference between what some people call microevolution versus macroevolution is critical, right? So
yes, and we dealt with that a few questions ago, didn't we, in the 15 questions flyer?
Right.
Why is natural selection, what some people call microevolution, taught as though it's macroevolution?
Right. Selecting from genetic information that's already present So you're determining, okay, this genetic information that's already in this crop, it would be best if more of these plants had that. So you're going to select for that. Well, that doesn't have anything to do with the general theory of evolution here. So these changes observed in so-called microevolution will never lead to macroevolution. Natural selection is not going to produce new forms, functions, and features that have never been seen before. And that's not what happened in Borlaug's experiments and so on anyway. So,
And we dealt with that. That was question 4, right?
That's right. Of the 15 questions, you can just go to creation.com/GU, Genesis Unleashed question 4, and we've dealt with that. So actually that's not...
And in that episode, we quoted evolutionists, and evolutionists themselves are saying, look, the changes that are observed, by the way, that we all agree with.
Yeah, that's right. We're all observing them.
Creationists wrote on natural selection long before Darwin published on it. We all agree with those, but even evolutionists admit that those types of observed changes in living things can never add up from to this macroevolution.
Right.
And actually, we tend not to use those terms because they can be confusing.
Well, if I say to somebody that I believe in microevolution, they say, oh, you believe in some kind of you believe in a certain amount of evolution, and no, because evolution, the general theory says one thing morphs into another thing over millions of years. So I tend not to use that and encourage other people not to use it either.
Yeah.
I don't believe in any evolution. So anyway, just different terms that people used.
Now, going back to Borlaug here, one of his innovations was developing multi-line varieties via crossbreeding, because the pure lines, and the same thing happens in dogs, the pure lines become depleted.
Right.
And so if you add in more of the originally present genetic material, they become more robust.
Right.
And that's why he won that prize. But that was, again, artificial selection. It was that artificial selection leading to the pure lines that resulted in a loss of genetic information.
Right.
That's not evolution.
It's
Evolution
similar to
requires the
dog
gaining of
breeding
information.
and things like that. Right now, one of the authors of the 15 questions tracked that we're going through here was Dr. Don Batten, and he's got a PhD in plant physiology. So you can actually go to our website, creation.com/potatoes, and it's what? No potatoes. It's an article that Don did talking about plants and this type of experiment and how it has nothing to do with microbes to man evolution whatsoever.
He understands what Borlaug was. He understands crops and breeding different types of plants very, very well, actually.
Yeah.
Okay. We've shown that the same problem in purebreds as well. You get your purebred dogs, and it's the same problem that we're discussing here with the plants. For more details on that, you can go to creation.com/pedigree.
Yeah, and we call them purebreds, but you should call them inbreds, because that's exactly what they are. If you want to keep a dog looking the same, you've got to make it mate with another dog that looks very similar. So it's got the same genes, so that it will produce offspring with that limited amount of variability.
Right.
But that, of course, leads, we know what inbreeding leads to, so that's why, like you were saying earlier, you've got to introduce these other lines in there, or else you're going to get mutations that are just going to take over and just destroy that lineage, right?
I mean, the original mongrel dog or wolf-like kind that, a few hundred years back, all the dogs came from, pretty much everybody is on page
National
with that.
Geographic, Science Center in Toronto, they're all saying the same thing.
And everybody understands that those dogs were better than the dogs we have now, the purebred dogs.
Yeah. The fact is that crop breeding in agriculture, this predated Darwin by millennia. So why this person is pointing this example out, it really doesn't hold up.
Right, yeah. Let's move on. There was another answer number 4, and this person wrote this. Music, theology, and philosophy don't lead to scientific breakthroughs either, but they're still taught in schools.
Which is an interesting answer, because I'm wondering what category that this skeptic would like us to put Darwinian evolution into. Music, theology, or philosophy? I mean, basically they're admitting something here. They're still taught in schools, they don't lead to breakthroughs. So are they saying that Darwinian evolution doesn't lead to breakthroughs? This is one of the reasons we're asking this question. I mean, the whole point of this question, evolution claims to be science.
It claims to be science.
So if you're going to spend billions of dollars, public taxpayers' money, every year, funding research, and it has this so-called evolutionary undertone or underpinnings that's supposedly science, how come we're not getting any real world breakthroughs from this, right? And yeah,
that's right.
I think you should put Darwinian evolution perhaps into theology or philosophy, because it is a theology. It's a way for atheists, people who declare that there is no God, to be able to shore up their worldview and to say that, oh yeah, there's reasons why I don't believe in God. There's a naturalistic explanation, or perhaps philosophy would be a good place for it to be too. But science, no.
That's right. And we've got actually the two remaining questions in the 15 questions flyer sort of go in that direction. So we'll deal with those in the two remaining questions. For all the questions, you can go to creation.com/15 questions. We encourage you to do that. There's also loads of other information. If you're a Christian watching the show, if you go to the topics tab and click on that, there's verse by verse, and that's actually a page on creation.com where you can start with a Bible verse rather than a subject or a topic, and that Bible verse answers questions about that arise from that particular verse.
Right, so you can read through Genesis and you get to Genesis 3 whatever, and you say, the questions that arise from that passage, and you can see articles there. So
lots of good stuff on creation.com.
Welcome to Genesis Unleashed, where we unleash the truth of Genesis.
And ask the question, does evolution really have any scientific value? Evolution. Dr. Mark Kirschner, chair of the Department of Systems Biology at Harvard Medical School, stated, in fact, over the last 100 years, almost all of biology has proceeded independent of evolution, except for evolutionary biology itself. Welcome to Genesis Unleashed. We are on question 13 of the 15 questions for evolution flyer. We're getting there. 2 more questions to go. So what's question 13? Where are the scientific breakthroughs due to biology, biochemistry, physiology have not taken into account evolution at all? Dr. Skell wrote, "It is our knowledge of how these organisms actually operate, not speculations about how they may have arisen millions of years ago, that is essential to doctors, veterinarians,